The silence came first. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that pressed against the mind and made every breath feel heavy. In the far edge of the Orion Drift, a small alien convoy drifted without power. Their ships were damaged, their engines cold, and their long-range transmitters dead. They had sent every distress call they could. None were answered. Space remained silent. Commander Terrell stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, staring at the dark starfield. His species had survived 3 galactic wars, but never had he felt fear like this. Their scanners showed no friendly signals, only debris, broken ships, burn marks frozen in space, signs that others had tried to flee and failed. This sector was cursed. That was what the old map said. No fleets entered here without vanishing. Still, the convoy had come, forced by war behind them and desperation ahead. Now, there was nowhere left to go. Power levels dropped again. Emergency lights flickered. One by one, secondary systems shut down. The ship felt like a dying animal. Crew members moved quietly, not because they were ordered to, but because speaking felt wrong in the face of what was coming. Terrell checked the tactical display. Enemy signatures were still distant, but approaching, slow, patient, like predators that knew their prey could not escape. The enemy did not rush. They never did. They waited until hope was gone. "We have no more allies within range," the communications officer said softly. All rescue requests failed. Terrell did not reply at first. He already knew. Every known faction had turned away. Some were afraid. Others had already fallen. A few had answered once, long ago, before cutting all contact with this region of space. "No rescue is coming," someone whispered. The word spread through the bridge like a sickness. No rescue, no miracle, no unexpected fleet arriving at the last moment. Just time slowly running out. The convoy had civilians aboard. Families, children, scientists. They were not soldiers. Their escort ships had fought until their weapons overheated and their hulls cracked. Now they drifted together, wounded and helpless. Terrell remembered the stories told in training. When a fleet reaches this point, when silence replaces hope, extinction follows. That was the rule of the galaxy. Minutes passed, then more. Enemy signals grew closer. Their massive ships were still hidden beyond sensor range, but their presence could be felt. Long-range gravity distortions trembled through space. One junior officer broke the silence. "Commander, should we prepare the final message?" Terrell closed his eyes. The final message. A record. A warning for whoever might find the wreckage one day. He had never believed it would come to this. "Yes," he said at last. "Begin recording." The officer activated the beacon. Terrell spoke slowly, choosing simple words. He explained who they were, why they came, and how they were abandoned. He spoke of the enemy, of their tactics, of the danger of this region. Then he stopped. There was nothing left to say. The beacon launched into space, a small light against endless darkness. It would travel for thousands of years, maybe forever, carrying the truth of their final moments. Power at 10%, engineering reported. Terrell looked around the bridge. These beings trusted him. They were afraid, but they stood their posts. No screams, no panic, just quiet acceptance. Then something changed. At first, it was so small that the sensors almost ignored it. A fluctuation, a ripple in the void. The navigation officer frowned. "Commander, I'm seeing something strange." "Enemy?" Terrell asked. "No, it's not matching any known signature." The ripple grew. Space itself seemed to bend, like reality was being pulled apart. Stars behind it stretched and twisted. The bridge lights flickered again, but this time not from power loss. Crew members stared at the main screen. Fear returned, sharp and sudden. Whatever this was, it was not normal. "Is it a weapon?" someone asked. "I don't know," the officer replied. "But it's massive." The distortion widened. A deep vibration rolled through the ship, not sound, but pressure. Even the enemy signals paused, as if something had caught their attention too. Then, out of the darkness, a shape began to form. At first it looked like a shadow cutting through the stars. Then metal reflected faint light. Lines of blue energy ignited along its surface. The object was enormous, far larger than any ship the convoy had ever seen. Silence returned to the bridge, but this time it was different. It was shock. The ship emerged fully from the void, not through a gate, not through known jump space, but as if it had always been there and simply decided to appear. Its hull was scarred, ancient and powerful. Weapon systems unfolded along its sides, glowing softly, restrained, controlled. No signals, no warnings, no identification. The enemy fleet stopped advancing. Their signatures hesitated for the first time since this nightmare began. Terrell felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. It was not fear. It was hope, but he did not trust it yet, because in the galaxy, hope often came just before destruction. The council chamber of the Carrion Compact was older than most stars still burning in that region of space. Its walls were made of black crystal mined from a dead world, polished smooth over thousands of cycles. Floating rings of light displayed star maps, casualty numbers, and fading signals. Every species that mattered in the galaxy was represented here, either in flesh, hologram, or neural projection. At the center of the chamber, the image of the besieged world still flickered. A small blue planet, weak shields, orbit filled with wreckage. The last distress signal had ended hours ago. Silence ruled the chamber. High Arbiter Vesrael broke it at last. His voice was calm, cold, and final. The situation has been reviewed. The defense has failed. No reinforcement fleets remain within viable range. A murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked away. Others watched the image with detached interest, as of observing a natural disaster. The planet has been judged, Vesrael continued. Evacuation is impossible. Intervention would risk escalation with the Void Armada. The Compact will not act. A representative of the Telrics lifted one thin limb. And the civilians? Vesrael did not hesitate. Collateral loss is regrettable but acceptable. The survival of the galaxy outweighs one world. The words settled like ash. Across the chamber, a younger delegate clenched his mandibles. He was from a minor trade species, newly admitted to the Compact. They asked for help, he said quietly. They trusted us. They were warned, another voice replied. They refused to surrender. They are not a military power, the young delegate argued. They are barely spacefaring. Then their resistance was foolish. Vesrael said, the galaxy does not reward weakness. The star map shifted. Red markers showed the advance of the Void Armada. Black symbols marked systems already lost. Entire regions were dark. The Void does not negotiate, said Admiral Craig to the Iron Clans. It consumes. If we move fleets to that planet, we expose our own borders. So we do nothing, the Telrics representative said. We watch. Yes, Vesrael replied. We endure. One by one, the delegates signaled agreement, some with reluctance, some with relief, a few with cold satisfaction. The vote was nearly unanimous. The decision was logged. The world was classified as fallen, far from the council chamber. In the outer systems, the consequences of that judgment were already unfolding. On the doomed planet, the sky burned. Cities that had once glowed with life now flickered as power grids failed. Defense cannons lay silent, melted, or shattered. The last orbital platform broke apart, its debris raining down like fire. Commander Hale stood on a balcony overlooking what remained of the capital. He was human, tired, covered in dust and blood that was not all his own. They've stopped answering, his aide said. Hale already knew. The long-range channel had been quiet for hours. No acknowledgments, no refusals, just a silence. They judged us, Hale said. His voice was flat. The aide swallowed. So that's it. Hale looked at the sky. He watched the Void cruiser drift into position, its surface absorbing light itself. Smaller ships swarmed around it like insects around a corpse. No, Hale said. That's their judgment, not ours. In orbit, the Void Armada prepared for final descent. They did not hurry. They had learned patience over countless conquests. Resistance always collapsed in the end. The Void commanders observed the planet with distant curiosity. Their sensors showed no reinforcements inbound, no hidden fleets, no anomalies. One of them transmitted a simple assessment to the Armada's core intelligence. World isolated. No rescue expected. The response came back instantly. Proceed. Back in the Carrion Compact, the Council moved on to other matters. Trade routes, defensive treaties, resource allocations. The fallen world was already fading from attention. Only the young delegate lingered. He stared at the dimming star map long after the session ended. Sometimes, he whispered to no one, judgment is just another word for fear. In the darkness beyond known space, something listened. Sensors that did not belong to the compact, the Void, or any charted civilization registered the final transmission from the doomed world. Not as a plea, not as a negotiation, but as a statement of defiance. The signal traveled into the Void, and something answered. The first sign was not a ship. It was a sound. A deep vibration rolled through space, slow and heavy, like the echo of something massive moving through nothing. The alien fleet detected its seconds before their instruments began to fail. Screens flickered. Energy readings spiked and vanished. Long-range sensors screamed with warnings that made no sense. Something was entering the system without using known jump lanes. Something was forcing its way in. The fleet commanders stared at their displays in silence, fear creeping into their thoughts. This was impossible. Nothing survived Void entry without proper gates. Then space itself began to tear. Not violently, not like an explosion, but like fabric pulled apart by unseen hands. Darkness folded inward, creating a wound in reality. From that wound came light, cold white light, edged with deep blue, sharp and steady. The smaller alien ships drifted back in panic, their formations breaking for the first time since the siege began. No one gave an order. Instinct alone moved them. Whatever was coming was wrong. It did not follow the rules of the galaxy. The massive shape emerged slowly, deliberately, as if it knew it was being watched. A warship, larger than anything present, pushed itself free from the Void. Its hull was dark, layered with armor plates that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Long glowing lines ran along its sides, pulsing like a heartbeat. No banners, no broadcast signals, no warning shots, just presence. The ship did not rush. It arrived like a verdict. The alien commanders froze. Their species had cataloged every major power in known space. They knew ship designs, weapon signatures, fleet doctrines. This matched none of them. The size alone was terrifying, but it was the silence that broke them. The warship did not scan aggressively. It did not target lock. It simply arrived and waited, as if confident that nothing here could threaten it. One commander finally found his voice and ordered a full identification scan. The results came back fragmented, incomplete, corrupted by unknown interference. The ship's material composition defied classification. Its energy output dwarfed entire fleets. Power readings suggested weapons that could crack moons, yet none were charging. That was worse. It meant restraint. It meant control. Then a transmission cut through every channel at once. It did not force entry. It did not overpower systems. It simply appeared, clean and clear, as if it had always been there. The voice was calm, measured, and unmistakably organic. This is the human warship Vigilance. The voice said, "You're operating in a protected zone." The word human echoed through command decks like a curse. Humanity, the quiet species. The newcomers, the ones dismissed as weak, short-lived, and dangerously emotional. They had been ignored by the great councils, pushed to the edge of trade routes, left out of wars because no one believed they mattered. And now one of their ships stood before an entire alien armada. The commanders laughed at first. Nervous, disbelieving laughter. One ship could not change the outcome. One species could not rewrite the galaxy's judgment. But the laughter died when the Vigilance moved. It did not fire. It repositioned. Slowly, it placed itself between the besieged colony and the alien fleet. A single ship shielding millions. Its hull rotated, revealing weapon arrays that had not been visible before. The space around it bent slightly, distorted by gravitational control fields far beyond current technology. This was not a desperate stand. This was a calculated one. Another transmission followed. "Withdraw your forces," the human voice said. "This engagement is over." The fleet commanders argued. They demanded proof of authority. They threatened retaliation. They declared that the colony had already been judged and abandoned by the galaxy. The human response did not change. "You judge them," the voice replied. "We do not recognize your judgment." Silence followed. Then one commander, driven by pride and fear, gave the order to fire. A single volley launched toward the human ship. Plasma, energy beams, kinetic rounds, enough to erase cities. The vigilance absorbed it all. Shields flared once, glowing brighter for a heartbeat, then faded. No damage, no evasive maneuvers. The human ship did not retaliate immediately. It waited as if confirming something. Then it fired one shot. There was no explosion, no bright flash. A focused beam of compressed energy lanced out and struck the nearest alien battleship. The target did not shatter. It simply ceased to exist, erased so completely that even debris failed to form. Space where it had been was empty, calm, final. Panic spread instantly. Orders contradicted each other. Fleets scrambled to retreat, but the vigilance moved faster. It did not chase. It controlled. Gravity wells locked ships in place. Weapon systems shut down as if politely turned off. The humans were not fighting for dominance. They were enforcing a boundary. "This is your final warning," the human voice said. "Leave." The fleet withdrew. As the last enemy ships fled, the vigilance turned its attention to the damaged colony below. Medical transports launched. Repair drones filled the sky. Supplies followed. Humanity did not ask permission. It acted, for the survivors watching from the surface. Hope returned not as a miracle, but as a promise kept too late by the galaxy and right on time by humans. The galaxy would remember this moment. The moment rescue finally arrived. The moment humanity revealed itself. The human warship did not slow down. It moved forward like the void itself had chosen a side. The enemy fleet reacted late. Their ships had surrounded the broken convoy for hours, confident that nothing could challenge them here. Now alarms screamed across alien bridges. Orders were shouted in fear and confusion. Weapons powered up too fast. Some systems failing under panic. The void, once silent, filled with light. The first shot came from a human ship. It was not loud. There was no dramatic blast. A thin line of white-blue energy crossed the darkness and touched the nearest enemy cruiser. For half a second, nothing happened. Then the cruiser folded inward like soft metal. Its shields collapsed. Its core ignited. The ship vanished in a silent flash. The explosion did not spread outward. It pulled space inward, leaving nothing behind. The enemy commanders froze. Their scans showed impossible numbers. Energy output beyond known limits. Weapon precision beyond any recorded system. This was not a single warship. This was a moving battlefield. They returned fire. Dozens of plasma bolts and kinetic slugs raced toward the human ship. The void lit up with color. The human vessel did not dodge. It did not raise visible shields. The attacks hit its hull and disappeared, absorbed like rain on stone. The ship continued forward, untouched. Inside the broken convoy, surviving crews watched in disbelief. Their sensors struggled to track what was happening. They had accepted death minutes ago. Now they were watching a war unfold for them, not around them. For them, the second human strike was wider. The warship released a wave of dark energy that rippled through space. Enemy ships caught in it lost power instantly. Lights went out. Weapons died. Hulls cracked as gravity turned against them. Some ships collided with each other, drifting helplessly. Others simply tore apart, unable to survive the forces around them. The void itself seemed angry. Enemy leaders tried to regroup. They ordered a full retreat and a focused strike on the human ship's engines. They believed no vessel could survive concentrated fire. They were wrong. The human warship changed formation. Sections of its hull shifted, rotating smoothly as if alive. New weapon ports opened. Smaller craft launched from its sides, not fighters, but drones. Hundreds of them. Each drone moved with perfect coordination. They did not chase targets blindly. They selected systems, engines, weapon cores, command bridges. One by one, enemy ships were disabled before they could escape. No wasted shots. No mercy, but no chaos either. It was control, absolute control. An enemy dreadnought tried a last stand. It powered a massive beam weapon, draining its own life systems of fire. The beam struck the human ship directly. For a moment, even the survivors held their breath. Then the beam bent. It curved around the human vessel and tore back into the dreadnought itself. The ship split apart from the inside, its own weapon becoming its executioner. Fear spread faster than light. Enemy communications broke into panic. Some ships shut down weapons, broadcasting surrender signals. Others fled blindly, jumping into unsafe void lanes and vanishing forever. The battlefield was no longer balanced. It was decided. The human warship slowed for the first time. It stopped between the convoy and the remaining enemy ships. Its presence was a wall, a promise. A signal echoed across all frequencies. Not a threat, not a command. A simple message, translated perfectly into every known language. This zone is under human protection. Disengage or be destroyed. The remaining enemy ships did not hesitate. They fled. The void swallowed their retreating lights. Silence returned, but it was different now. It was not empty. It was heavy with what had just happened. Wreckage drifted where an enemy fleet once ruled. Broken ships, fading power cores, fragment of force that believed the galaxy belonged to them. The survivor ships were still damaged. Fires burned. Systems failed. But no one spoke of fear anymore. They watched the human warship hover near them, vast and calm. Small human craft moved toward the convoy, already beginning rescue operations, cutting through hulls, sealing breaches, towing ships to safety. The humans worked without urgency, without celebration. This was not a victory to them. It was a duty fulfilled. Across the galaxy, long-range sensors recorded the battle's echoes. Observers would later argue over what they saw. Some would deny it. Others would fear it. But one truth could not be erased. The void had become a battlefield, and humanity had claimed it. No one in the galaxy had expected the humans to stay. Many believed the human warship would strike once, save who it could, and vanish back into the void. That was how most powerful races behaved. They helped only when it benefited them. They left when the cost became too high. But the human ship did not leave. It remained in the shattered system, silent and watchful, like a guardian that had chosen it ground. From inside the Allied fleet, confusion spread. The surviving commanders opened communication channels, unsure what to say. The humans did not demand thanks. They did not ask for resources. They did not issue orders. Instead, a single transmission was sent across all open frequencies, translated into every known language. It was not a threat. It was not a speech. It was a simple statement. We are here because we heard you. That sentence spread faster than any weapon ever had. Many species struggled to understand it. Heard them? The distress signal sent weeks ago had been marked as low priority by the Galactic Council. It had been reviewed, debated, and then buried under procedure. Entire fleets had decided the system was already lost. Yet the humans had heard it. Not only heard it, but answered it. Inside the human warship, the reason was simple. The distress call had reached a small listening outpost on the edge of human space. It was an old station, manned by crews that rarely saw action. The signal was broken, weak, and filled with static. It spoke of civilians, evacuation failure, and extinction-level threat. No political weight. No valuable trade routes. Just lives about to end. The station commander had forwarded the signal without hesitation. There was no council vote. No waiting for permission. Human protocol allowed one rule above all others. If a call for help was heard and no one else answered, humanity would decide if it could, and if it could, it would. The warship sent was not the largest in the human fleet. It was not the newest, but it was ready. Its crew had trained for years not just to fight, but to endure. They were taught that rescue did not end when the battle was won. Rescue ended only when people were safe. As the allied species learned this truth, something shifted. Fear gave way to disbelief. Disbelief slowly turned into understanding. Humans had not come for territory. They had not come for revenge. They had come because someone was about to be erased, and they refused to accept that as normal. The enemy fleet, watching from the far edge of the system, began to realize its mistake. They had studied the galaxy well. They knew who was strong and who was weak. Humans had been labeled unpredictable but limited, a growing species, aggressive at times, but focused mostly on itself. They did not understand human values. They did not measure cost the same way humans did. When the enemy commander finally opened a channel, the question he asked was direct. Why defend those who cannot repay you? The human response came quickly, because repayment was never the point. That answer spread fear through the enemy ranks. A species that fought without profit, without fear of loss, and without expectation of reward was dangerous. Such a species did not stop when the math turned bad. It stopped only when it chose to. The human warship began deploying smaller craft, not attack vessels, but evacuation ships. They moved toward damaged stations, broken habitats, and drifting escape pods. Human crews pulled survivors aboard without asking their species or status. Medical teams worked non-stop. Food, water, and air were shared freely. Some allies broke down when they realized they were truly safe. Observers across the galaxy watched the feeds. Many had ignored the original distress call. Now they saw humans risking their only warship in the system to protect strangers. The question spread through countless worlds. If humans would do this for them, what would humans do against them? The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Too late. Their judgment had already been made by history. While they debated rules, humans had acted. While they calculated losses, humans had accepted them. And while the galaxy chose silence, humanity chose response. As the last survivors were pulled from the wreckage, the human warship finally turned its guns back toward the enemy fleet. This time, there was no hesitation. The message was clear, not spoken but shown. Humans did not come to conquer. But once they came to protect, they would not stop. In the void where rescue never arrived, humanity had appeared, and the galaxy would never forget why. The battle ended without celebration. Wreckage drifted through the void like frozen memories. The alien fleets that had once filled the sky were gone, broken into silence. The survivors from many worlds watched from damaged stations and small ships, unsure if the quiet meant safety or another kind of danger. They had seen the human warship fight. They had seen what humanity could do. Now they waited, afraid of what would come next. The human warship did not chase fleeing enemies. It did not fire again. Instead, it slowed and powered down its weapons. The glow around its hull softened. From the outside, it no longer looked like a weapon of extinction. It looked like a guardian standing watch. That confused the galaxy more than the battle itself. Inside the stations, alien leaders gathered in emergency councils. They replayed the battle again and again. Every angle showed the same truth. Humans had arrived when no rescue was coming. They had not asked for permission. They had not demanded surrender. They had simply stepped into the void and stopped the end. Fear spread faster than relief. Many species asked the same question. If humans could destroy fleets so easily, what would stop them from ruling the galaxy? What would stop them from deciding who deserved to live? The old powers trembled, not because they had lost ships, but because they had lost certainty. Then the message came. It was broadcast on every known channel. No encryption, no threat, just a calm human voice, steady and clear. The message spoke slowly, using simple words so all could understand. It said the warship had come because a signal had been heard, a call for help sent into darkness. Humans had answered because that was what they did when silence meant death. The message said humans did not come to conquer. They did not come to judge. They came because extinction was wrong. It said that power did not give the right to decide who deserved rescue. It ended with a promise. Humanity would leave when the danger was gone. The galaxy would be free to choose its own future. Some did not believe it. They remembered how the galaxy had judged the weak, how councils had voted while worlds burned. They feared promises were just another weapon. But others listened closely. They noticed what the humans did next. Human ships began to move among the wreckage, not to claim it, but to clear it. Rescue shuttles launched toward damaged stations. Medical teams crossed species lines without hesitation. Food, energy cells, and repair drones were shared freely. No demands followed. No flags were planted. The humans worked in silence, focused and tireless. On one shattered station, a young alien watched humans repair a failing life support ring. He had expected arrogance. Instead, he saw exhaustion and care. A human engineer smiled at him and returned to work. In that moment, fear cracked. Hope slipped through. News spread, not of battles, but of actions. Worlds that had been ignored were stabilized. Survivors were evacuated. The void, once a graveyard, became a path of relief. The galaxy began to understand something new. Humanity was dangerous, yes, but not in the way tyrants were dangerous. Humans were dangerous to extinction itself. When repairs were finished, the human warship prepared to leave. Engines warmed. The massive hull turned slowly, like a giant waking from a long watch. The same leaders who had once dismissed the dying now watched in silence. Some felt shame. Some felt relief. All felt change. Before the ship jumped, one final message was sent. It was short. It said that humanity would remember this day. That if the galaxy chose silence again when others cried for help, humans would still answer, not as rulers, as guardians. The warship vanished into the void, leaving behind light where there had been darkness. The galaxy stood at the edge of a new age. Fear remained, but it was no longer alone. Hope stood beside it, stronger than before. From that day on, stories spread. Stories of the moment rescue never arrived, until a human warship emerged from the void. And whenever worlds faced extinction, they no longer stared into silence. They looked into the darkness and wondered if humanity was listening.